زيت لك
Turn right onto Lawrence Boulevard. In 300 meters, turn right onto McGregor Avenue. Turn right onto McGregor Avenue. In 300 meters, turn right onto Westmill Road. Turn right onto Westmill Road, Nova Scotia Trunk 4 East. In 500 meters, turn right.
Go, man.
Turn right, then turn left. You have arrived.
before, because it'd be one thing if you had an immediate benefit that didn't last. If you have a benefit that can persist for time, that makes it much more cost effective. If this lasted for a week, you couldn't do something like this every week. Most of us have day jobs. We can't spend, entire days in a medical clinic undergoing a therapy like this. So the duration, the persistence of the therapy is really going to be key, because if you can prove that this lasts 6 months and this is feasible, if you tell somebody this has to be repeated every 6 weeks, I don't think we have the resources in our healthcare system to do something like this on a massive scale for the whole population every 6 weeks. We just don't have the personnel or the resources to make this up to practical to do it.
Right. And I guess the drug-resistant depression aside, for a lot of folks, antidepressants do give them that cost-effectiveness, I guess.
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, say what you will about antidepressants, and we could do a whole segment on it, frankly. But the one advantage they have is that you don't need to see a specialist. If you have a family doctor who can diagnose you with symptoms, you could start therapy immediately, and it may take 6 weeks for the drugs to build up in your system. But that is an easy therapy that doesn't require any type of special medical facility or any type of special tools or really training. So there's this convenience factor to antidepressants. And so when we figure out how we're going to use psilocybin, not only do you have to demonstrate that it works, you have to demonstrate a superiority to what already exists on the market, demonstrate that it's also cost effective enough to have to pour all these resources into what's essentially going to have to become a bunch of medical clinics where people can be, supervised and treated properly.
Of course. Where would you like to see research go next?
Well, the big thing is going to be determining the duration of therapy. We need to know how long this lasts. If this lasts 6 weeks versus 6 months versus 1 year for a single treatment, that's really going to determine how we use it. The longer it persists, the more viable it becomes as a possible treatment. If the treatment benefit starts to, disappear after a few weeks, I don't know that we're going to be able to use this practically. In a world where we have unlimited resources and unlimited money, sure, but in the real world, I don't see this. This is not something you're going to be able to go and do every 6 weeks. Just the practical realities of that close of follow-up is just, I don't think, feasible at this point in time.
Dr. Lavos, thanks so much for this fascinating stuff.
My pleasure. You take care.
Dr. Christopher Lavos is an epidemiologist and cardiologist, and we reached him in Montreal.
comments in an exclusive sit-down interview with the CBC podcast Front Burner. However, he argues the housing picture would be much worse without the actions his government has taken. Catherine Cullen reports.
I'd always say we could have moved faster. Absolutely, there's always more to do.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his government is seized with the housing crisis. He told Front Burner host Jamie Poisson it takes a lot of work to get cities and provinces invested in building more homes.
I'd love to be able to wave a federal magic wand and make it happen. That's not the way this country works.
Last week, Trudeau announced a plan to cut GST on the construction of new rental housing, with more measures to come. But polls show public support for his government is slipping. He insists the money his government has spent on housing saved the country from even more suffering.
If we hadn't got the federal government back into the business of housing, then everything would be much worse right now.
Trudeau argues his government is focused on solutions, not just slogans. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
As Parliament resumes today, the Liberal government is at pains to show it is serious about reining in high grocery prices. Before going to the House, Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne met with the CEOs of Canada's big grocery chains.
I am pleased to have seen the constructive tone of the discussion over the course of the 2 hours. And bottom line is that they have agreed to support the government of Canada in our efforts to stabilize food price in Canada.
But no firm commitments have been made by any of the companies. Ottawa says it will work with the CEOs in the coming weeks to develop solutions. The government says it could impose taxes if the chains don't comply. The opposition Conservatives have been blaming the Trudeau government for the rising cost of living. Ontario Superior Court has dismissed a charter challenge launched by an alliance of groups advocating for the rights of sex workers. The plaintiffs argued current laws foster stigma and invite targeted violence against sex workers, which violates their charter rights. The court ruled Canada's criminal laws on sex work are constitutional. The ruling says the legislation prohibits the most exploitative aspects of the sex trade, but it does not prevent sex workers from taking safety measures or seeking help from the police. It was a rare moment of diplomacy between Washington and Tehran. 5 Americans detained in Iran are now free and out of the country. They're on board a plane heading to the United States. Sam Sampson has more from Washington.
The 4 men and 1 woman are dual citizens with Iran. The U.S. says they were wrongfully detained in the country, some for more than 8 years. Washington and Tehran struck the prisoner swap deal last month, with 5 Iranian prisoners now released from U.S. jails. $6 billion of Iranian funds have also been released from South Korea. That's money Iran made from selling oil to that country, but it was frozen when the Trump administration backed out of the nuclear deal. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran are still high, dating back for more than 4 decades. That nuclear deal still unresolved, and humanitarian concerns divide the countries, including Iran's treatment of women and girls. U.S. President Joe Biden even added more sanctions on Iranian officials today. But this is all happening the week of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, where both the American and Iranian presidents are expected to appear. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Washington.
U.S. military officials are asking the public to help locate a missing fighter jet. An F-35 went down somewhere in South Carolina over the weekend after what officials are calling a mishap. The pilot safely ejected and was taken to hospital. There were media reports the $80 million jet was left on autopilot, but military officials say it is not still flying. Search parties examined 2 lakes based on the trajectory of the missing plane.